it's a very big development which is just coming out on the agencies, on the wires, on the international wires, that Anadarko has actually upgraded the gas find. It has reported a new gas find in Mozambique, which is an African bloc, and the new gas find has gas reserves of 30 to 60 trillion cubic feet. Now, it is important that this number, because up till now, Anadarko has been upgrading the gas find only till around 20 to 50 TCF. So that band actually moves higher by 10 more trillion cubic feet. So this is a big development, and let me clarify that we have been following this development. The news, of course, which ET now has exclusively gathered, that this announcement was being made today. This announcement actually happens in the US exchanges first, because Anadarko is an American company. Why is it important for Indian stock exchanges? Is because BPCL and Videocon both hold 10% each in Mozambique block. So when the reserves actually get upgraded, their financial stake in the company, the value of that also goes up. So this is one big development which has just happened. ET, our newspaper, had reported that this announcement was happening shortly, but now, of course, this has been reported to the US exchanges.
Ajay, so just to clarify and maybe simplify this a little bit, how big would this be for BPCL as a stock? Because you did mention that they have been limiting the quantum of gas discoveries, and now it goes up substantially. How substantially?
Neeraj, as you were just asking the question, so my colleague just told me that Anadarko has also mentioned that the speed, or at the rate at which the gas reserves are actually going up, it is approaching 100 TCF. Now, this is a very big development because it completely, probably doubles, the gas reserves over there. It is important for BPCL and Videocon both, because they hold 10% each, and every time there's an upgrade which comes in on the Anadarko gas reserves, their valuation actually goes up. Roughly put, analysts who cover BPCL closely value around 300 rupees a share as far as the SOTP valuation of oil and gas assets in BPCL are concerned. With these kind of upgrades coming in, that valuation has an upside potential. That's what some of the analysts actually told us.
So, no, Ajay, so, okay, I don't know if I'm throwing this out of the dark at you. So, you mentioned a figure of 300 rupees. Abstract is what ad hoc some analysts are assigning. So, was 300 the kind of SOTP valuation before this discovery, or before the upgrade to this discovery? And with the discovery upgrade, how much does it go up to?
Neeraj, 300 rupees a share was the valuation which analysts, some of them even like CLSA were assigning to the overall oil and gas assets of BPCL, out of which up till now, Anadarko's reserves were estimating around 30 TCF. With new upgrades such as this coming in, that has a upside potential.
Let's get in Narendra Taneja to give us a quick perspective of what this means for BPCL and Videocon per se as well. Mr. Taneja, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. How critical and how big in terms of upsides or valuations would you assign to this discovery? Because Anadarko is talking about 10 to 30 plus trillion cubic feet of incremental recoverable natural gas resources.
Well, the firms which, who have done very thorough study of the whole thing, they are giving very, very positive picture of the reserves, and of course of reservoirs too. So I think very encouraging, but it's very difficult at this stage, as you know, that anything that is an offshore, you have to be a little bit cautious. And so I would say that, very good discovery, very significant for BPCL and Videocon, and is absolutely international class. It's much bigger than the biggest discovery we have seen in India in the last 10 years. And not only Indian companies, but foreign investors or others are very, very optimistic about the whole thing. But as the real challenge is going to be, as you know, the Indian companies are just the partners. They are not the operators. Right. Operators are, as you know, the Canadians. And but industry is looking at it in a very positive way, and the valuation already of the stake of both Videocon and BPCL is pretty high.
Right. So, how much of an upgrade in valuation do you expect because of this increase in exploration?
two factors there. Number one is, of course, the cost of development there. How at this stage the cost of development is pretty okay, but as you know, as we have seen in India and other blocks, once we start getting into action, things can change. Maybe the cost of development is going to be 100% or 200% more than what is estimated at present. Number two is, of course, the price of developing the LNG facility there and the price of LNG at that particular time. But if you look at the LNG market and demand from countries from India, China, Japan, South Korea, in particular for LNG, I think it's a win-win project. And no wonder both BPCL and Videocon are jumping and celebrating the...
In percentage terms, I mean, how much do you think valuations would go up by because of this discovery? Is there a back of the envelope calculation there?
I would say very significantly. I mean, this is not a small discovery. This is a major discovery. I don't want to put any number. All I would say is that whatever estimates we may have today, we can very safely go for increasing it by, let's say, 80%, 100% at this stage. Okay. But as I said, that along the way, as they develop, then things will change.
Right. Okay, Mr. Taneja, I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in today and giving us that perspective. Very quickly, a word from Deven Choksi as well. He joins us on the phone line. Deven, how critical would this be for BPCL? Because they're talking about some numbers, 10 to 30 plus trillion cubic feet of incremental recoverable natural gas resources. How big for BPCL?
Well, Neeraj, I think the earlier estimated numbers were, I think, between 7 to 20 TCF. And that was, I think, just a little while back, I think, last month. And this month, again, I think the news coming out with 30 to 60 TCF. I'm not too sure, I think, what is the, exact number that I should be believing.
So, Deven, Anadarko is saying that they have located within this offshore area block 1, which holds 10 to 30 plus trillion cubic feet. It's an official release that they have given.
Well, in that case, then probably I think this kind of a valuation could somewhere around $5 to $6 billion for BPCL and Videocon. I think based on the estimates that are available as of now, maybe subject to some more calculations, but as of now, I think between 5 to 6 billion USD kind of a valuation can be assigned to their 10% stake in this particular block.
Right. They're also saying at this point, Deven, that there could be potential for additional exploration opportunities that could expand the resource potential further. So, had the market pretty much factored that in? Because as our analyst just pointed out, the gas side of the business was more priced in for BPCL than for Videocon.
To a greater extent, yes. I think the market has factored into this particular aspect. But as I was making a point, I think if the reserves estimates increases, then probably market may deduct some of these current companies and probably the estimated numbers could really go up. But I think one needs to get, detailed clarity from both companies. Then in that case, it may make more sense to do the analytical workouts that we are basically trying to look at and feed into the investors.
Right. Sure. Deven, I'm not putting you on a block out here. I won't hold you to the answer. But just wondering, assuming that the numbers that have been given, the last question to you really, assuming that the numbers that have been given are correct, how much of a potential upside for the stock of BPCL from this 720, 725 kind of levels?
Well, I think safely assume that from current levels, if this particular numbers to be believed, I think the stock could have another 15 to 20% an upside from current levels. 15 to
20%, right, Deven?
Yes.
Okay. I won't hold you to it. This is just to get an initial estimate for somebody who's listening to it right now. Deven, I really appreciate you joining us for this very quick perspective. Thanks for taking the time out.